subjective experiences as to what is needed and what's not needed. I think the third is the academics. So, we have recently, in the last 15 years, have started to focus on Jain studies as an academic discipline. Before that, it was almost non-existent. There were, a few areas happening. So where do we go from there? So in the last 15 years, obviously when we started in FIU was the first Jain chair in all of the United States. And now we have 55 universities which offer some sort of Jain programs across 12 different countries. So we have seen a tremendous growth, and I think our community has really come together to say this is an academic discipline. We need to study Jainism as an academic discipline, and how do we do that? So what's the 2.0 there is I think really focusing on the interdisciplinary work. So we've studied Jainism as a subject, but how do we create an interdisciplinary program, for example, between Jain studies, which happens to be, let's say, in Department of Philosophy or Department of Religious Studies and so forth, with the business school, with the School of Law, with health and with the dietary, with culinary schools and so forth. We have so much to offer that I think that should be our next area of focus. And then the fourth, I think, is really an area where we have not paid any attention at all, which is Jains outside, people outside the Jain community. When we talk about Bhagwan Mahavir's time, and we think about the sermon that he gave, and we always take pride in that his sermon was for what we refer to as prani matra, for every living being and every human being. He didn't say you're Jain, so come in there. But we have not really opened up our centers, our teachings, and our resources to the benefit of the broader community outside the Jain community. And I think it's about time that we start to create programs that are really focused on secular values that we can share for the betterment of the life broadly.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask our panelists joining by Zoom here. Amar, can you hear me okay with it? How's our audio?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Great. So I really appreciate Dr. Baird outlining those 4 different branches we're going forward. I know, Amar, you've spoken for the need for Jain academic infrastructure in North America and for Jains to engage more broadly with all of society. So can you speak maybe a little bit more on this dual focus that we've outlined and why this is critical for the future of Jainism?
Yes, sure. Jai Jinendra, everyone. Matena, Vandami to all the Samanijis. My name is Amar Salgia. I'm living in Los Angeles. So this is a very important question, the future architecture of Jainism and outside of India. So I'll start out with a few observations. So I've been studying Jainism my entire life, and history and practice of Jainism been very important to me. And what I have found is that Jainism really has changed the world. When we introduce Jainism to people, we often say it's nonviolence, it's meditation, it's vegetarianism. I introduce people to Jainism by saying it is a religion that changed the world. And that is a past of ours, a shared heritage that we have that most of us are not aware of. Our Jain influence shows up everywhere. And we need to carry that forward into the future in a world that increasingly needs Jainism more and more than ever. Jainism specifically, not just spirituality in general, or not just veganism, but specifically Jainism. And Jains changed the world, not by forcing anyone, obviously, but by serving as an excellent example, not by compromising, not by forcing, but by serving as an excellent example where we have a very deep understanding of our spiritual principles. So looking to the future, I see this world, we can just look at the news today. The world is becoming a more difficult place in which to live. There are conflicts, there are just more and more financial problems here and there that seem to be on the rise. And we know we are in the 5th era, we are in Pancham Kal. These things are going to continue. So I suggest we look 200 years into the future. 200 years into the future. That's long after all of us will be gone. What will be the challenges of the future 200 years from now, 7 or 8 generations from now, or more? What do we need to do right now in order to prepare the Jains of the future for those challenges and the world of the future for those challenges. Spirituality, the way that Jains live our lives is a way of living that inherently protects us from a lot of bad things that go on out there. Protects us mentally, protects us physically, health-wise, and protects us spiritually. Many people are just in a very agitated, very confused state today, and they are not able to cope with these changes. But Jainism very well equips us to deal with a lot of challenges. Look at Bhagwan Mahavir, look at the 24th Tirthan.
It seems that we have some internet connections, so Amar may have gotten cut off there. I'll just give it a moment to see if it reconnects. Okay, that's okay. If he rejoins us, we'll get restarted with him, but I think that was an excellent start, because when we think about the future of Jainism, it's not just the current and immediate future, but it's long-term, and the importance of having a strong foundation infrastructure so it sustains itself. For my next question, though, I am going to transition a little bit. I want to speak briefly to some of our young Jain professionals. So this question is for Arpit Mehta. And Arpit has done research interviewing young Jain professionals. So I wanted to ask you, based on what you've heard from others and listening, what do young people in Western contexts, what do they say about their engagement with Jain temples, Jain communities, and what are the main barriers you've identified and concrete suggestions you have for these challenges with youth engagement?
Jai Jinendra, everyone. So what I'm going to talk about is my conversations going into different Jain temple, Jain derasars, and at Jain activities, YGP, YJA. And I'm going to be very candid about certain things. It doesn't mean that every person sitting here or all the people who are involved respond to the Jains that way. But I'll tell you what the gist or the core has come out, right? So I'll set my context by saying, one of the person, walks into the Jain temple. A lot of times they're coming at the time which is a later than Aarti or something. So they're coming in, they're listening, oh beta, you always come after the Aarti. Are you always coming, you should come early, right? Then some of them are, coming in from the colleges, distance places, etc. They're like, oh, you didn't do this ritual correctly. This is not how it is done. This is how it is done. So what context is getting set is when the kids are coming in, instead of being welcoming to them and trying to understand, we are being very critical to the Jain kids. We are being critical at the point where, and it's kind of, probably it's inherited in us because we've always been a generation which has fought through our means and got better and always have been improving things. So we are very critical of ourselves as well. So I think very important thing is to be kind to the people and non-critical. So Vandami Naman Swamis tell us a lot of time that Gun Puja is important, right? So appreciating what them coming itself should be our expectation fulfilled. So when they're coming in, I think it's very important for us to not tell them or kind of tell them what's wrong, what's right. It is very important for us to tell them what it means for us that they are here amongst us, right? A lot of times when we are organizing Jaina Convention or Jain Connect or YJP or YJA, a lot of time kids are in the evening, they want to go out. They want to go out and they want to probably go to some places which are away from Jaina. They're going to a restaurant to eat or something like that. Now what happens is there's a label attached to it. A lot of kids, it's their activity, they're adults, their personal activities, but even the young ones, there may be some activities which may not align with Jain principles a lot of times. And we face this a lot of times, right? Does not mean that every kid who's around there is, going down in the value system away from us. Like what happens is when I am sitting with somebody who is into that mode, they learn from the other kids who are following those things, who are following the values of compassion, who are following, religion to the T. There's a lot of, exchanges which happen. Sometimes it's the other way around as well. Sometimes the kids think that it's okay to do other things as well. But the environment is very open and friendly. People they can talk to each other, they can talk to others. A lot of times we get the feedback that the YJP event was not very fruitful for us. Everybody was partying. Some people others say that it was too religious, like it was too strict. but it is important for you guys to still send them to that place. Still encourage you guys to send them to the Jaina convention, to YGP convention, to any of the meetings which are happening. It helps them at least get to meet people. I've made all of my best of the friends at YJB, because we all have the same pains. We're like, oh, my mom is telling this thing, my dad is telling this thing. We connect right away. So it is very important for us to create this engagement between the youth and you encouraging them to go and participate. So that's one of the most important things which I've learned from the youth, and that's a message I wanted to convey. Yes, yeah, please.
May I add one thing? So I totally agree with the sentiment. One of the things which I have realized is whenever my brother and we go to temple, what we have realized is we see fewer and fewer kids coming. So when you see someone doing tilli and stuff like that, there have been times where they have been scolded that you're not doing it correctly, you cannot wear jeans, it's supposed to be from left to right, you're not using the correct finger. While it may be very minor, I think we are doing a disservice to the next generation who have to carry the flag forward, right? Who will be the future of Jains in America. So I think if we can be all a little bit lenient and encourage our kids that yes, this is, while it's not a perfect step, it's a first step into something bigger. I think we will do a great service because this is the future of Jains. The other thing I would mention is, if you look at kids today, there is a lot of things competing for their attention. Everything from video games to school, to friends, to cycling, to movies. And so what is happening is attention is very scarce, right? And so how can we make things more engaging, more interactive for them so they are a little bit more interested, right? And so think about different modalities which are attractive for them. As an example, video, audio, visuals, right? Those kind of things, which will make it more fun for them to, take that first step into something bigger.
Oh my God.
Wonderful comments, absolutely. And I think we will.
I would definitely love to help. In fact, at United Health Group, my department of 400, we train over 1 lakh employees. And so I would love to play a more central role and work with other panelists and others here to help Shamniji and do this correctly. Absolutely. Great feedback.
And I would love to explore this more. We will. I want to give each of our panelists a chance to talk, but it's a very important topic about what we can do to encourage, as a community, more engagement, to be more forgiving, to be more considerate, and be more welcoming. And certainly challenges of today's youth are different from yesterday, so we have to be aware of that. I do want to take a moment to transition, though, because as much as community is important, the next steps also require us as individuals to think about what are the specific needs that people have and how it can be useful in their day-to-day lives. And so for this, I'm going to switch and I'm going to ask a question to Siddharth. So I know you suggested repackaging Jain principles as practical life skills and emphasize beyond religion and community how we can improve this, and the importance of also normalizing questioning to help encourage people to personalize their approach to Jainism to attract younger people. Can you speak more about this?
Yeah. Jai Jinendra, everyone. So I think I've made some notes here which I'm going to talk through. So one of the first things we do with Jainism is we start talking about, what is Jainism? It's really hard to explain to other people what Jainism is. When you start looking at other religions, especially they're similar like Buddhism, they've done a great job packaging. They have a 2-minute summary of what the religion is. That's something Jainism that's really hard to do, is what is Jainism. Second thing is we have great principles. Ahimsa, I'll just pick one. Ahimsa, we always use ahimsa as food. Food पे consumption control करना है, उसमें meat नहीं खाना है. But there's so many other things we can do with it. And this is the message that appeals to younger people, I think. It's nonviolent communication, ethical consumption of fashion, food, and technology. So fashion is one thing that is really big right now. People tend to buy a lot. When we start looking at what the younger generation is talking about, they're buying used clothing. They want to be ethical with their consumption. So these are things that Jainism advocates anyway. And then emotional well-being and restraint, that's the other one. So these are 3 things that I think with Jainism, it can be packaged in a different way and talk about ahimsa and that as well. It can attract younger crowds to be there. Growing up, when I was thinking about Jainism, I always thought about, okay, meat nahi khana and dani khana, it's very controlled with food. But as I've grown up, I've started realizing is non-materialism, everything else we do, being restrained is very important. The other piece that I was going to go back, Roger, on your question. I think I had this journey where my parents started with JVB many years ago. I moved out for college and for work, got married, had a child in the meantime, and then moved back to Orlando. How we got re-engaged in the community, and we're not as engaged as I'd like to be, but we're starting to get more and more engaged as my daughter grows up, is the community here, right? It's everyone else that's very helpful, that's been there. And so that's the part that I think really brings people back into the community. Simple examples, like when I was younger, I was trying to learn about business. I had many family or friends here that actually helped us understand like what you can do, what you cannot do, right? Devang uncle over here helped me understand what options trading is about. Nandu uncle over there helped me understand what real estate is about. And it's still an ongoing process, right? But that's really helpful to engage people. So that's the one piece I would add is, when I moved to San Francisco, there was always a Jain person to talk to. And so I think the community, from the standpoint not of just teaching your religion, but also being there for each other is very important. And you see Jewish people do this really well. They're always there for each other, they always take care of each other. The Patels do this really well as well. And so this is something that like JVB does really well. And I think we should continue on that path. I'm gonna add one last thing, sorry. When I did classes when I was younger, they were different. And so this is something I'm seeing positive Jainism involving, right? My daughter's first class yesterday, and I was like, oh, she's 4.5. I was like, she's gonna get bored, she'll come and talk to me. The first class I started sitting with her, and then she said, go away, I'm gonna play with my teacher. And there was Samriji teaching, right? So Samriji did a great job teaching yesterday. And she was sitting here to listen to me, and then she saw the two Samrijis walk out, and so she ran to that class and so my mom's sitting there, but my daughter's gone now because she went to the class. So I think there's a lot of good things JVB and Samrijis are doing also, and just keep that up as well.
Hi, my name is Kaushal. I'll add to what Siddharth mentioned regarding visibility and branding. So I work a digital agency. And I think, I wonder if Jainism has a branding / marketing / visibility challenge and an opportunity as well. Because I think a lot of the concepts are very progressive. And I think it'll take centuries for the rest of the world to catch up. And I think if those are communicated and packaged in the right way, I think there will be a very broad acceptance, but it's just that most people don't even know about it outside of the Jain community, as was mentioned earlier. So I wonder if there is an opportunity here to spread it more broadly, to package it in a way where someone who's not familiar with some of the concepts can start to understand them and can sort of learn about it without going really deep and package it in a way that they understand. The other comment I wanted to make is if some of these sessions can be made more interactive, because that's how younger people learn, is by engaging with information. I remember when I was growing up, we would go to Vakyan and you would have Maharaj giving a speech, and we would all sit because the crowd is very large. But I wonder for like a smaller gathering like this, if we could have separate tables where we have worksheets, where we are working on our challenge, and where you have Shamniji at each table and help us sort of address some of the challenges that we are having. And by listening to those exchanges, the rest of the table can also learn. So we are walking away with actionable items rather than just a philosophy, and then there being a gap on how to implement some of those things that we have learned and not knowing exactly how to apply it in our daily life. And by even listening to other engagements, we can all sort of learn and cross-apply it in our life. So that could also be an opportunity to perhaps explore.
Very good idea. Omar.
Excellent. I feel like I planted you, because my next question to the panelists is, we've discussed many of the challenges in the future of Jainism, and certainly not one individual, one generation carries this burden, but the future of trying to work through this is ideas, solutions, strategies, trying different things. Sometimes experimenting means we try things that work and we try things that fail, but we have to be a little bit brave and forgiving. And so I wanted to ask the panelists what thoughts and suggestions they have. Like this one, perhaps next year we can make things more interactive and have more tables and discussions and things of that nature. I know our panelist at the end hasn't had a chance to speak, so I thought I'd let you start, sir, and just give your thoughts. And then after this, we'll open up to the audience to chat and ask questions.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. So like my fellow panelist mentioned, it should be more interactive, so that's what I think as well. On top of that, I believe 2 days is a very less amount of time, so it should be at least a week long. For us to capture a lot of things. Yeah.
Only JVB Orlando can do it. Only 3 days start.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things to ideate and work on. We can have mini competitions, quizzes, things like that.
Excellent.
So I want to ask a question, I think in that regard. So there, you are a professional now who is like looking into getting into the career, etc. What can the community? How can you get some kind of guidance, etc. What is your need, and how can the community address it?
So a lot of students who are gonna graduate in the coming future, in the near future, they are really looking for good mentors and people who can guide them on their way forward. So if JVB can help them connect with like-minded professionals who are in an advanced stage of career, then that will help them to secure the job they want or to start up a company. So I guess connecting students to people who are currently in an advanced path in their own field, that will be helpful.
Wonderful, thank you.
Can I add one more?
So if I can add one more thing, really good ideas. One of the things that you see, like if you think about how people can retain the information once they leave a session like this, it's to engage them, like Kaushal was mentioning. One of the best ways to do it is maybe we can have the youngsters select the topics which are most valuable to them for the next session. So as an example, my son walked away from one of the sessions yesterday and said, I learned a way to meditate which will help me with my education, which I thought was very touching and very, very moving, and this is something he's committing to, and he wants to do on a daily basis, even if it's for a few minutes. So that is something remarkable. There are other things, like what are some of the sins you can do less of, right? So those are a handful of topics which I think may be very valuable to them. It's almost an intersection of all of the things that Jain religion is about, and what are the things which are practical, which will help them in their own life, in their own ways. And so if you find the intersection of those two circles, maybe they can be the architect of the topics for next year. And they can say, here are the 10 or 15 topics which are most interesting to us. Can we work with Shamniji? Can we work with all of the other folks and figure out how we can get the guidance which we need, how we can get the coaching which we need? And so if you engage them, and if they can architect the plan of here are the things which are most valuable, and we commit to learning about these topics, I think it will resonate more, and I think they will be able to retain the information more as well. Just a thought.
Wonderful.
Just a quick comment on very well said points. So I think one thing we should also think about is that we underestimate our youngsters in absorbing the Jain values and applying in their own way. We have a certain expectation that how Jain values should be applied in our life. Do we remember logas, or do we remember certain sutras and so forth? But they apply in their own way, and I can speak to it from my own experience with my kids. So both my kids have absorbed Jain values in different ways. My son, he's 30 now, but 4 years ago when he moved from San Francisco, where we live, to London, all his belongings fit in a carry-on suitcase. Carry on, yes. So he owns 2 jeans, 4 pair, and I never told him to not buy clothes or any of that stuff. That's how he manifests what he learned in school. And he actually kind of, like some of you guys were talking about, struggled in the Jain school because the material was very dense. Material was written by people like us who didn't really understand the kids and how they would want to receive this material. But he absorbed these things in his own way. And my daughter, if you look at her closet now, I think somebody was speaking about thrifting and buying used clothes. She's like, why do I need to buy more clothes that can go into the landfill? So she actually goes out and most of her closet is used clothes. So I think we have to celebrate these as applied Jainism examples. And rather than saying, okay, yes, there is no question about if somebody memorizes a sutra as a young kid, we should celebrate that too. But I think we don't celebrate enough of these examples that I think are really important in adopting and embracing the Jain values.
Well, sorry. Oh, yes, behind us. Yes, we can take questions from the audience now. Great transition. Yes.
No, thank you. This is an excellent insight. So we have this camp mainly for the adult. I'm sure the children are there too. But what I'm suggesting is, for JVB, why don't you have a camp just for those people as a JVB camp for the young professionals or college graduates and stuff like that? That would be really helpful. The other thing is, my son could not be here, but when he was talking to mom yesterday, he said he has gotten into several medical schools, so he's starting medical school this year. But first thing he said to mom is, if any parent or a student need any guidance to getting into med school, please give my number to them. Actually, it came from him actually. So we want to share all this information more and more. If you have a youth program, then it will be even better, in my opinion. They will listen from their colleagues and peers. Thank you.
Rather than parents, that makes sense.
Yeah, mentorship, excellent idea, key points. Yes, from the audience, we'll take questions now. So if you guys could make a line, just come up, they'll make it a little bit easier. Like, there are going to be a lot of people, I'll be walking around. Come forward. The panelists, so that we see you is making questions. Come. We'll get more microphones if we need it.
Vandami Navan Swami and Jai Jinendra, everyone.
A line on this side too, I'll take turns, I'll go back and forth. Thank you.
Right. So, fundamentally, I really don't have a question though. And this is more of a kind of a suggestion, what Dr. Sunil suggested, right? What I'm observing and experiencing as well is parents are there, but then there is a limitation on what basically the parents can guide. And when parents starts guiding, it sometimes goes the wrong way, or most of the time goes the wrong way. That's my understanding. The other part basically is, hey, Jain kids, right, from the Jain families, they get married to non-Jain families, right? Nothing wrong about it. But then ultimately, we want to see that, hey, that Jain family concept or the Jain traditions are carried forward. Traditions in the sense, I'm not talking about what you mentioned, Siddharth, like, hey, kya khana hai, kya nahi khana hai. Okay, that you only learn by experience and by knowing, right? And the part being like, hey, you are that Jain family here in the United States, right? How do you build that up? And that's up to you guys, basically, to build this, run such camps. Devang Bhai, Kamlesh Bhai, you know all the elders here. They have worked hard, like 30 years to come up to this stage. So that was my suggestion, that hey, you guys need to take this up.
And responses, yeah.
That's a great one, because I have a wife who's not Jain. So, so she's, and I'll tell you, I've been through this journey, which is very interesting, right? So for her, what resonated quite a bit was, and she's Hindu, and so it's a little bit easier when she's Hindu. What resonated really well with her was not memorizing Navkan Mantra and Bhaktambar. She's learned Navkan Mantra just because we do it so many times in the house. But, memorizing different things was not really resonated. What really resonated with her was, like I was saying, is a community, the aspect that when we came here, there's so many Jain people available to us every single time. We went to San Francisco, went to Atlanta, there were Jain people we could reach out to. You cannot do that in the Hindu community as easily. That was the number one thing. The second one was the other aspects of Jainism, the overconsumption, minimalization. Those things goes, man ki shanti hoti na, which is what really started resonating with her. And so I think this is a great comment, because there's, most of the kids I grew up with here, they have married somebody from a different religion. And I don't know how it's going with them, but at least for us, what's been working out well is the fact the teachings of Jainism about overconsumption and man ki shanti are resonating really well. And then the last comment, which is yes, I think we have to, I have to get more engaged, other kids have to get more engaged and start leading more often.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. So I think with what is being asked, I'll tell you a very practical, probably not an advice, but how my parents, kind of instill certain things, and I'm very stubborn. I think that I know a lot in terms of like what they're telling in practical. Although I'm young or was young, now I'm understanding what they were saying was correct before. But the point is that my dad does this thing where he says that, even though I know that you are resistant or whatever, I will actually at least mention it once to you. I'm not telling you to force or forcefully do it. Like he keeps telling me that you need to be more organized, right? And I'm resisting. Like so many things are going on. I'm doing this, that, and that, and it doesn't work. So he does this. Okay, fair enough. Whatever is it, but still, listen. It is good to be organized. Okay, and then he leaves it at that. It's not telling me. he has trust in me that because this generation is very smart, smarter than our generation just coming through. This is like most smart generation we have ever had, and they have information on their palms. 7-year-old can tell you more about Jainism just by asking ChatGPT than you have learned in your life, right? So to deal with that, I think the best thing is trust them, right? Trust the process, but keep your faith intact. Like you're not, your learning may or may not translate as Nirmalji mentioned, as they're thinking, but they're still taking something home. They're still keeping the message home. Have faith. Have faith in them that they will be making correct decisions, but do not impose. Imposing always breaks things, right? If you're strict that, I'm not going to talk to you ever if you're marrying a Jain kid or non-Jain person, well, there is a chance that the other person is now learning the Jain values as well. So it's not a two-way street. Of course, we want to make sure that certain values are matched, like we are vegetarian, we follow certain things in our house, cannot be that flexible, which is absolutely okay. But I think to trust your kids is very important. You guys are giving those values. They are your genes. They are your 50% of each of you. So they will eventually come through. But if you force them too much and there's a point of no return comes, then they're not listening. And I've seen that when I'm talking to a lot of young Jains, where they get to that break point. You don't want to reach that break point. Always keep a small reconciliation factor okay, even if they are doing something which is not aligned with you. It's very important. Thank you.
So I have a question in just what you told, So you're just saying tell once, have faith in it, okay? And then have faith and trust in it, they will do. So, do we follow up or just एक बार बोल दिया, that's it?
I think you have to reinforce. I think you have to reinforce, right? But I think जैसे करना है, it has to be like it has to be in a nice way. My mom reinforces all the time, but I got married like 12 years ago. The only reason my wife couldn't be here today was because she was out at a work conference. But at the same time, we're more Jain now than families that have two like Jain parents, right? And I see that. Like I have some friends that I have like a Jain husband and wife. They never come to anything. They're Jain in just being vegetarian. Other than that, they don't do anything that's Jain. So usme, I think there's different ways. Like he was saying, you can adapt Jainism, but at the same time, like patience is just something you have to figure out how patient your kid is, how patient you are. How much reinforcement can they take? I've seen some parents that are very forceful, and the kids will be okay with it. Other times, they'll run away. So it just depends.
Thank you.
Questions from this side? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to take questions from this side, then I'll come across. Okay.
I live with my daughter, and she's she's working and everything. All the time she says to me, we are not living in the bubble anymore. We are in the facing real world challenge and everything. And all of you need to open up. When we go to the temple and they all same thing, they say, why are you wearing this? And you're supposed to come in the temple with the clean clothes and then only you do puja. So she said that makes us disappointed. And so I'm just saying everyone just be alert not to criticize the kids.
No, but point is right.
Thank you. Really, really helpful to hear. Go ahead.
I don't want to take too much time, but a very simple, comment I'm going to make is like language for nowadays kids is a big barrier, because what happens is a lot of times when my kids come to Swadhyay, half of the time they're not able to follow, even though they'll sit through the whole session. They're older, 20, 23, but they're not able to follow a lot of words, especially pure Hindi words that are put into they can talk simple Hindi. But that's one comment I would just make and say that, if that's something that can make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. All the harm. Really important. Okay.
The question is like I agree with all these questions because most of the kids have faced it in Derasa. But even Derasa sometimes, we should be vegetarian. Whenever we come to non-violence or ahimsa, we talk about majorly is what to eat. What can we not eat? This is rude, this is wrong, this is right. But then they see cars outside sitting with the leather seats. Every person has a belt, which is leather. Women bring the leather purses. How do you argue with those kids?
So if that's actually a really good question. So if I can actually answer that, what has happened is since my son was born, and because I wanted to instill the right things in him, I have actually improved a lot of the things which I used to do, surprisingly. So the belt which I'm wearing right now is synthetic, 100% synthetic. When he was very young, he went to a birthday party and he said, "Does the cake have eggs in it?" And for a while I had completely forgotten about that, and now I ask myself that question: does this have egg or not? So I look at the labels very carefully now. I buy cars which don't have leather seats. So I've actually become more conscious because I know he's watching me, he's observing me, and he's going to do the same things which I'm doing, right? So when he grows up, he's going to do the same things and he's going to learn from me. And so the best way to do it is to lead by example. So that's actually a really good point. I think all of us can do a better job at making sure that we look at our life a little bit more holistically. And there are some principles we are following, others we have an opportunity to follow a little bit more carefully because our kids are watching us. It's not just sutras and all of those things, it's what we actually cultivate inside of us and how we follow those principles. So really good point.
So I'm about to say something that's usually controversial in gathering like this. I think we have turned Jain practices into a religion of food, which is when to eat, what not to eat, how to eat, and all of that. And I think there is some value in that. But even, how and what we eat, for example, we don't eat kandamul, but we eat dairy. And when we talk about nonviolence, I think, if even if you do a 30-second research, you'll realize how much violence the dairy produces. And when you go back to our scriptures, it's very, very clear that butter is actually a mahavigya. But we happily eat it, everybody eats it, and we go after onions and garlic and carrots and so forth. So I think there is a rethinking that we need to do as a community, that yes, there are traditions that were developed over the years, but are those traditions actually aligned with our values and in today's world and in the context in which we are living?
Thank you.
Can I just add one more point to what you told? It is very interesting point. So just practicing at home. I'm very clear. Yeah, I really agree with the point you told. It's what you practice at home. So basically, we were trying to buy a car for me, and I told I don't want any leather seat. I'm not going to get it. He's saying. So my son told me, "You're 23. It'll be nice, but I don't know. I'm not going to use it." So then this time he told, when we were just leaving a day before, he told, "See, I got a vegan belt. Feel it and see. It's synthetic." I told, "Wow, that's good." He's saying, "Mom, even I'm going to do all vegan now."
Nice, good story.
I'm going to come back to this side so you can get more questions. Let's start here.
Vandami Namaste Shamaniji. So all of you have fantastic points. I really commend all these panel to come up with the futuristic view and your thoughts and your ideas. And they are extremely, extremely important. And the person told that we need to vision for the next 200 years. And I think it's absolutely correct, right? So all the young people, and Jain principles are, let's say in a number term, 1,000 principles, right? All our children maybe are following 20, 30, 50, 100, 150 out of the 1,000 principles, correct? Let's appreciate that. Let's not focus on what they are not doing. Let's focus on what they are doing. Some of the children speak just the truth. Some don't steal. Some are vegan, right? Let's appreciate what they are doing. Let's not focus on their bad parts. Apart from that, that's for the parents, right? Now, what we have seen over the years, that 3 years ago or 5 years ago, Acharya Mahashramanji said that no more Shramanijis. We won't get Shramanijis here in the US. Kankaryaji, Sashibai, myself, all our board, we all fought with Acharya Shri. That's not acceptable. You have sent Shramanijis for 30, 25 years and then
suddenly you leave us hanging. It's not correct. Because what do we do in the US? How do we cultivate? So his whole mentality, his whole ideas, his whole philosophies changed, right? He suddenly transformed 180 degrees to realizing what the future needs. And now he's pushing to get more Shamnijis into the Sanstha, right? More Mumukshus into the Sanstha. I listen to Acharya Shri's lecture quite often. And every week he has a mandate now for the new Shamnijis to speak in English in front of him.
Yes. Oh, madam, yes.
Right? Every lecture of his has enormous English words in it. He understands the future now. Not that he did not understand the future before, right? But he is doing it for us. All the new Shamnijis, you heard Samatwa Pragya ji this morning. Her fluency in English, right? These are the new Shamnijis. These are Arja Pragya ji. Mandamino, sorry, maaf karna.
We all have some needs, no problem.
Their fluency in English, their understanding of our new generation, because they are also with that new generation, right? They will connect with you, they will ask you, they will relate to what you are saying. So what we can as a board, as a JVB, can definitely, whatever you guys need, we are ready for you, right? Maybe form your own group, maybe form your own organization, which we can be a support to that. But you have to connect with Shamnijis, the newer Shamnijis, where they can guide you from the principal point of view. But implementation is yours.
Yes.
Right?
You
Guidance
have
is
the
theirs.
You
Correct
have
me if I'm wrong.
You have the infrastructure.
You have the infrastructure. Take it. It's available. They will give you the principles, they will give you the knowledge, they will give you the means. But implementation is yours. Maybe software, maybe technology, maybe different methodologies, whatever you guys can come up with. And we are open to discussion because definitely we all want to talk about 200 years from now. Maybe we can put all our agams on Gemini, you know. So whenever you type in any English or whatever Jain related principles, you get a right answer. So these are all the different things. He's doing that, right? Yeah, we had this last year, Shamniji invited Sri Kumarji. He's actually talking to Gemini because he's very literate in Agams.
We need to develop
Jain GPT.
Yeah, there's a Jain GPT also.
Right. Jain LLM aku develop karwani.
Correct. So what I'm saying is all these things will help in the next 200 years. But right now what we need is, we have the means, we have the tools. Let's use them. And definitely Shashibai is extremely influential with Acharya Shri. So whatever you guys need, he's available. He will pass on your message, and whatever we need from them, from India, from Jain Vishwabharati Institute, from their library. It's a huge institute. So whatever we need, we can get it. So think about it from that angle also. You have the tools.
Oh, madam.
Oh, madam.
Thank you. How are we doing on time? We can keep going. Okay, great. Well, we have, okay.
Raj,
No,
yeah,
we
Arvind
all
Bhai
have
now.
some questions. but-
Okay, we'll have Arvind Bhai and then we'll come back across.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah.
Raj, this question is especially for you.
You are the young generation, the first generation I see who is involved in our JVB. So when we founded this JVB, I'm sad to see that none of our kids are engaged like you are. So what I want to ask you very bluntly, what are the boring syllabus of our Jainism, and what would you do to change so that our younger kids get more involved? You know, so I know everybody talks about Jainism and all these things, but you are the future, you know, and that's what you want to focus on. Why our our born and raised young kids here, Jain kids, how they can get more involved? And this is specifically, I want you to open up and be honest about what your feelings are.
Oh, thank you for the question. So I'll say briefly, I don't think there's one specific way to make things better, but being open and trying conversations like this with the community is very helpful. So that's one. I personally think having more English-based engagement, as we've discussed, interactive, engaging discussions, tables, mentorships. Our generation doesn't like to just sit and listen all the time. So when we discuss together, we grow and we learn together. So that's very important.
Give them post.
Yeah, give them post. And my personal thing, a third thing I'll add is I think we have to be honest that a lot of my generation are married to non-Jains who have different ideas how they want to practice Jainism. And I think we have to open Jainism to non-Jains and open up avenues where we're not asking you to come practice a religion, but we just want to talk about principles and share that and encourage that in your own lives. And let people go on their religious journeys as they want to. And I think if we close off too much as a community, it makes us harder to outreach to others. So many questions. That's okay. No, I don't know how to prioritize it. I have to jump back to that side and I'll come back here. So anyone, the panelists, want to add anything to that?
No, I totally agree. I think that's really wise, Raj. I would just say that I think different modalities and different pathways, right? Everyone will select their own path. Some people will start meditation first, then they will want to learn about what are the 18 types of this, then they will learn about other things, right? So they will have their own path. So I think if you give them different modalities and the tools, then they will probably create their own learning journey and then they can pursue that. And also different modalities. Some people are kinesthetic, some people like video, some people like audio, some people like visual, PowerPoints, right? So if you give them different types of tools on a portal, then they will consume it at their pace and the way they see fit.
So the language also makes a big difference. I attended 3 lectures yesterday and I speak Hindi really well, but I could not understand a good part of the lectures. And so a lot of the people that grew up in India have a deeper understanding of Shuddh Hindi. My Hindi is not as Shuddh, right? So that was probably the hardest thing for me, is understanding the lecture itself. And I can make out, let's say, I think you're saying like 60, 70%. And same here, but it just, the other 40%, you're sitting there trying to understand what's going on.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a question here. I'll come to the middle. Sure.
So I just asked the reception, they said 11 a.m. I said there is an interesting discussion going on. Yeah, I literally told them. So she said, okay, 12 p.m. is fine, but I think we'll try to wrap it up by 11:30 if possible. I mean, 11:30, if you can please check out by 11:30. They have extended 1 hour for us, but we don't want, not everybody can go at 12. So, okay, but let's keep this going. Somebody has also cooperated, cancelled the current lecture 10:30 to 11:15. So we have up to 11:15 for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Samniji. Okay, so I'm going to come here and then come back. So we'll take turns.
Vandami Namastani Samiji and Jai Jinendra to everyone. This is a wonderful panel, but I would like to suggest to the panelists, because I was not aware of such questions since, but my daughters, they took a participation in a YJ leadership. And that's how I learned that how Jaina thinks about all these questions. So there was a session in last YJ convention by Dr. Manoj Jain, and he has put a package, what you just said, 2-minute elevator speech, what is Jainism. So there are efforts has been done by Jaina Long Range Planning Committee, and they are really putting wonderful efforts, and I was really impressed. Actually, he delivered a card to a kid, just a small visiting card. That what is Jainism? You give an elevator speech, somebody you are riding an elevator, and what is Jainism? So there are wonderful efforts that are being done by Jaina on this range. And the way you said, like interactive sessions, so I will recommend every parents, if you ever have an opportunity to volunteer at YJ convention, do it. It's very, very rewarding experience how young people take this Jainism topic and make it so interactive, so funful sessions. They are doing amazing job. So if you ever have an opportunity, go to YJ convention as a volunteer and you will see the amazing work done by the young Jains of America. So that is, and whoever is working on this challenging project, please do at least take in touch with Jaina Long Range Planning Committee or YJ. I'm sure Arpit is generally everywhere. Yeah, like YJ, YJP, so he knows all this, probably more than me. Because I heard from just my daughter that, okay, we talked about this or we did about this. but they are doing wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll pass all those helping you.
We'll take turns. Thank you for your help, Arvind.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think there are a bunch of questions here, so we'll start with
Vandami Nom Swami, Sadar Jajinendra.
We'll come to this room.
So we as Jain Vishwabharati are very strong in two facets. One is Gyanshala kids. In their formative years, they learn Jain principles. And the elders who have a lot of Shraddha and faith, and that drives them to do Swadhyay and participate. But the middle layer, since Jain Vishwabharati was formed 25-30 years back, the middle layer of professionals and young adults who are about to go to college and the professionals who have graduated, many of them pass through Gyanshala. They respect Jain values, but they don't have a formal forum to interact and take labh of Samniji, who are like beacon, who can guide everyone, but they are not able to do that probably. So we as Jain Vishwabharati have to form these two forums, like age 20 to maybe 27, 28, the kids who are still in college, and then the young professionals who can interact with each other, who can understand and guide each other. And social media can be a big forum to connect and do that. And in that, Samnijis also, who are speaking English or who can guide them, or some of you professionals who can kind of transform their messages, ideas, if not from Hindi or from other language to English. It will be a good way to proceed. So at all the centers, we can mobilize this effort, and that can evolve into connecting youth with Jain values all across, on social media first and then in person. So that is my suggestion. And Devang Bhai has pointed out many things of that. And trust me, in India, if you approach any of the sadhus, sadhvis or acharya-shri, they are most interested in seeing that our youth learns the values and they carry it ahead. Jai Jinendra.
Samniji, I do have a request from some people in the audience for you to continue your lecture at some point. I know that we're open to taking audience questions, but I wanted to ask Samniji. So they're engaged, so maybe we'll take.
I have a young Jain who wants to speak.
Perfect. So let's take a few more questions and we'll transition back.
Sorry, but I had to prioritize because it's about Jain. It's young. So.
I think so I think what everyone has said right throughout the discussion I've been listening is very insightful, but it comes to mind that if you look at Jainism, right, from a broader perspective, it's very fragmented, right, between Digambar, Shvetambar, Therapant, Pispant. Like, there's so many sects of Jainism. I think as we progress and people slowly start to branch out further and further, it becomes hard to have one unified message. And I think that's very important for kids these days because some parts are more strict, some parts are more lenient. And so having a very unified message, I think for all of us would be very helpful, especially with all the, I guess, young Jain efforts in the United States between Jaina and YJA and JVB. So having a very unified message or community would be very helpful.
Any of the panelists comment on that? Okay.
Mathinondami Samniji. Jai Jinendra, everyone. I think some of the points I had are already discussed, but I did wanted to raise a couple things. One thing I feel that a lot of the different Jain centers in America are trying to solve same problems. So we come from Atlanta. We have our own, all centers in America has our own pathshalas and our kids go through that. I think me and my friend Mir here, our daughters are teens now. And a gap what we see is the kids go to Pathshala once they are, when it starts from level 0 or 1, when they are 4 or 5 year old, and they're okay to just go and have fun there. As they get to the teen age, they start pushing back. I'm bored. Why do I have to go to Pathshala? My studies are getting harder. I can do something better on that day at home, or can I do something different? The challenges we see is the Pathshalas are not catered for teens, and I feel there's a gap. I don't know the young gen, what age kids start getting engaged there? 30? Okay, so at least that's there. So because our daughters are 13, so we probably would look into enrolling them and involve them. But those events are probably yearly, right? What we are talking about is locally what we can do to keep them engaged. Because the same problems, Pathshalas at times, though I think they try to follow Jaina recommended curriculum, it's at times dense, it does not interest them. So I think that's something which, and I agree with what the young Jain kids just spoke, that we have not a central way of doing this. And I don't think we have a solution right now or in this room, maybe. But I think we all need to come together better, work with Jaina, come up with some teams programs where, I know some of the other like Swaminarayan Temple, they have better infrastructure, but if kids can go and just play basketball together, like yesterday my kids played basketball with some of the other camp kids who came here and they had good time. So I think that's the gap we need to fix. And that will help everyone. Thanks.
We have TED Talks every month.
Questions from the side?
Oh,
Okay, so I think something you're gonna.
Yes, just the last.
Yeah, let's take the last one. I think we should now thoughts we have on sound.
Okay.
Let's come to conclusions now.
Okay, I'll keep it short. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. The major difference I see when the kid goes to college. My son went to this year college, and during Paris, he said, "Dad, I'm going to get a special lunch." So he went to EIC. They have a class Jainism. He joined. Plus they have a club also, and there's somebody who actually providing the lunch. So he will travel for 1 hour to get that lunch to just avoid our Jain food, to get our Jain food. So that's good, but that was I didn't see for my daughters when they were in the college, in Pittsburgh or somewhere. So what I feel their gap is basically not gap, but how we can improve in every university, how we can have a Jain club, or how we can young kids basically, or young teens here basically, or the young professionals, how they can make sure that we can improve that network so that when our kids goes to college, they have that support, they have that opportunity to follow Jainism. But I think that's a value, and I was surprised. Now I'm trying to do that from our University of South Carolina, where we're from, how we can provide that opportunity to the Jain kids who came to South Carolina. But I think we cannot do as adults, very adults, I think these are the, you guys, young kids can do, you use your network to do it. And we can help.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your questions. We have to run now, but great thanks to our panelists, Somo for their wonderful insights and their thoughts. And I will now give it back to Samiji.
Yes. So thank you all the panelists for sharing wonderful ideas, how they want to see Jainism in the future, what can be the new moralities to address our new generations, and what other facilities we can create for them, and also for how we can connect non-Jain community with our secular principles. So that is really very fascinating what they have suggested. Now I would like to say that we have created almost 50 around Jain chairs in different universities of US.